29th, 2019 show. And I already see Rachel and Joyce and Concha and Blaze. Thanks to everyone who is tuning in tonight. As I like to always remind all of you, there is about a 20-second delay between me saying something and you seeing it on the screen here. That's just the way Wirecast works. And the yellow hue is just because this room is painted yellow. And the bulb in this lamp to my left, you're right, I guess. Yeah, my left, you're right. Is not the greatest wattage, and you know the lower the watts, the less white it is. So it's not your screen. It's just kind of the way it is in this room. There's no overhead light or anything like that. It's just kind of the way. So if I look a little yellow, it's not because I'm jaundiced. I'm perfectly healthy, and it's not your screen on your phone, your computer, wherever, your TV. People can watch YouTube on TV now. It's just the way it is. Carol and Annie's and Jean and Lou, Jasmine, Cherie, the wench with the wrench. Thank you for joining us tonight, Cherie. Great to see you and everybody. Hope everybody is doing really, really good. Steeler fan One Hughes. I want to hear more about that Steeler fan. Of course, I am a Steeler fan as well. Are you in the Pittsburgh area, Steeler fan one? I don't know if we've talked about this before. If we have, I apologize. But my skin looks like Data from Star Trek. I'm going to pretend I didn't read that, Blaze. I'm sorry. It's just the way this room is. But I want to hear more about Steeler fan one if you're from the Pittsburgh area or just happen to be a Steelers fan somewhere else. It's not my liver, Annie. I got a great liver. I don't drink or anything, so my liver should be like a 20-year-old's. Laura and Lil and Cindy, thanks everybody for tuning in. Got a good show for you tonight. Gonna cover some things. Gonna be a little all over the map tonight, but I have some questions to answer, and I only have a couple questions. So if any of you have any questions you'd like answered within true crime genre, missing persons genre, or outside of it, I will do my best to answer it. Hockey? Nah, I'm not a hockey fan, Annie's. Not at all. Not really. Heather, there's your sign in the background right there. If you are new to the program, haven't watched before, Heather, who was in the group last night, made that sign back there. It's on wood. She painted it, put the Unfound logo on. It's spectacular. I know it's a little far away, but trust me, it's very well made. Yeah, very yellow. You're so pure. Yeah, okay, Annie. First thing, I made arrangements for my dad to fly down here to see me. He's going to be here from the 12th of June to the 26th of June, which means he's going to be here for Father's Day, and I'm going to get to take him out. That'll probably be the first time he and I have been together for Father's Day in a very long time, and I already have planned out. I already going to put some things together that he and I can do while he's here, and I already have the plans on where I'm going to be taking him for Father's Day. I'm really excited about it, too. So he's going to come down. He's going to be sleeping in this room that I'm sitting in. The bed is like right here. And so he's going to join me for two weeks. I anticipate still being able to do the program, but probably spending time on social media and other things, probably I'm not going to be able to take as much part in that. But as long as we can get some interviews, and it doesn't look like that's going to be a problem, the episode should happen as usual. Laura, Rekka, what did you tell me, Steeler fan one? Now I'm on the Kentucky-Tennessee line. My husband has been a fan since he was a kid, so I'm 1-2. Would love to make it to Pittsburgh someday. Pittsburgh is a great city during the summer, Steeler fan. But it's during the winter is the reason I don't live there anymore. But yeah, it's a nice city. Mimi, Miranda, Um, Annie, you have one of the best podcasts. I have a deck of cards you had made. Awesome. Annie, thank you very much. That's very kind. Um, you should have him on the show for a few seconds, Sheree. You know, Sheree, I think that that is an interesting idea. He's going to be staying from Wednesday to Wednesday, but so the thing is, he's only going to be here for one YouTube show because he's going to get in at like 11 o'clock. So after I do the June 12th show, I'm going to have to get in my car, go to the airport, pick him up. And then when he's leaving 2 weeks, he's leaving in the morning. So he's only technically going to be here for one show. But that's a great idea, Sheree. Maybe I'll try to make that happen. My dad is very shy. He's not like me. So, but I'll see what I can do. Um, Mark, I have one. Do you ever look into mysteries and aren't missing persons cases? No, I don't. Mark, I don't. We do missing persons cases only. Only unsolved missing persons cases where no body has been found yet. That's what we do. Yeah, I'm looking forward to Dad coming down. Sure. Um, Carol's also saying, have Dad on the show for a few minutes. Okay. Derek, what's going on? Glad you took care of your marching band thing. Um, Miss Bergen is a nice walking city going on the 6th to cat sit. Okay, that's interesting. All right, now a lot of my dad should be in the think tank too. Well, now you guys are getting demanding. We'll see what he has to say about that. Like I said, my dad is like I said, a very shy guy, very private guy. He doesn't have any entertaining or experience and public speaking experience like I do. So we'll see. Annie says the Deanne Hastings case is local to me and baffling. Annie, if you wanted to contact my assistant Emily about it, we'll see what we can do. Other things are going on. So besides my dad going to be here in a couple weeks, and then I anticipate probably after that I'm going to go up and see him in September. We're going to go to Canada fishing for a week in September. Don't know what I'm going to be able to do about handling the show during that, but we'll see. Uh, so that's probably the next few months, and then I anticipate my dad coming back down here sometime for the winter, maybe starting in December or something. We'll see. Next, I have a disc golf tournament this weekend, so you can anticipate at least on Saturday that I won't be around on social media and things until the evening because I have 2 rounds to play on Saturday, but only one on Sunday, and that will not get in the way of the think tank or anything else. But I'll be gone most of the day on Saturday and just a little bit in the morning on Sunday. Who knows how I'm going to play? I have no idea. We'll see if I can handle the nerves and the performance anxiety that I sometimes get. I do get the yips sometimes. You can look that up, the yips. But I've been going over there in the evenings and playing a little bit. I'm playing as well as can be inspected, but that's what will be happening. But still, the poll will be in the discussion group. The think tank will still happen. And the Patreon blog will, of course, still get done, even though I will be playing this weekend. Steeler fan says, I need to come to Pittsburgh for an early fall game then, because I don't like snow either. Well, I agree with you, Steeler fan. I moved away from Pennsylvania in 1998, and I've never regretted a second of it, and I don't miss the weather and everything else. So there you go. So we got the disc golf tournament this weekend. It's going to be at my local course, which is less than 15 minutes away. It's like in that direction. And it's called Taylor Lake. You can look it up on Disc Golf Course Review. It has a pretty good rating. Not a very long course, but it's beside a lake. There's some water involved, some trees. I actually won a tournament there in my division back in 2015. So I'm hopeful that I'll play well, but we'll see. I've got some mental things going on with my game. Speaking of the disc golf, or speaking of Patreon, this, as a lot of you know, I do a blog for every case that Unfound covers, and I've been doing that since about August of 2017. So we're coming up not long on the 2 year mark. So you can imagine I've written quite a bit about the cases. So the early cases like Suzanne Lau, Jason Jolkowski, I've never done any writing on those. But starting around Kent Jacobs and Linda K. Carroll, Nikki McCown, in that area of those cases, and forward to the present, every week I write a blog that is available on Patreon for Patreon supporters. Those write-ups are usually about 2,500 words long, so I put some, it's not just some quick thing that I do. I put some thought into it. I crank out some words. Well, of course, I'm going to be doing that for the case we're going to be covering this Friday, Dori Ann Myers, but I'm going to make that one available to everybody because there's a lot. I've been looking forward to covering Dori Myers' case for a long time, almost even well before Unfound started, because I've known about this disappearance for a while, and there was a lot of things going on in it, and I think that the listeners, you not just interested in the case, but I think you can learn a lot of things about missing persons cases in general from that case. And I want to make sure that everybody gets to read what I'm going to write about it. So I'm going to make that one free to everybody. So you will find it. You will find a link to the free write-up in the discussion group. You'll find a link to the write-up on the Facebook page. Everybody who is on the Unfound newsletter list, you will be getting that in your email. And also anybody that follows on Twitter, you'll be getting the link there as well. So I think that covers a lot of people. If you don't think that you're in one of those groups, probably the easiest way is going to be getting on the email list to have access to it. If you're not in the group, you should be, but if you're not, and you're not on Facebook, of course, you're not going to be able to access it, then I would suggest contacting me privately, and then we can get you on the email list so you can get the blog this weekend. Karen, you're saying you're just going to have to turn up your volume a little bit. This is, I don't know if anybody else is having any issues, Karen, but you're going to probably have to turn up your volume a little bit. So I can tell you probably that write-up for Dori Myers is going to be a long one. It's probably going to be one of the longer ones that I've written. Probably the longest one I'm written, I'm guessing, is Thomas Brown. But Dori's, I'm anticipating, is going to be pretty long. Of course, I would urge you, we're going to be talking about it later, as we do later in this show. But I just want you to know that's going to be happening. I'm working on Volume 6. In fact, today I was working on the transcription. Of course, the transcription has already been done. Now, what I do is I go through the transcriptions that have been put together by the transcribers. I go through them and kind of make them easier to read. I kind of edit for content a little bit. So if you ever read a transcription in one of the books and then listen to the episode, and you're going to probably notice some differences, because the way we talk, if you take a literal transcription, especially in an interview situation, it's sometimes hard to read. So I try to edit it and make it more into complete sentences so they're easy to read. So that's what takes some time. I'm working on Chip Campbell's interview right now, the interview that I did with Lisa Kassoon. Blaze, can you hear me fine? Thanks. I just don't want to turn my volume side of it up, because what happens is sometimes when I start turning it up, you start getting some echo for whatever reason. I don't know why, but Sheree and I, when we worked this out a few months ago, it seemed when I would turn the volume up on my side, you'd start getting an echo. So I have to keep my volume down a little bit. Derek asks, is Dori going to be the first one that is based in your state of Florida? No. Derek, I've done several cases in Florida. In fact, I've probably done more cases in Florida than any other state. That's a coincidence. It's not how I had it planned, but I'm pretty sure Florida, between Lucinda Hughes, Patty Action, Lacey Buenfill, see if I can do these. Lacey Buenfill, Kelly Rothwell, Greg Brooks, Jeremy, and his mother disappearing out in Brandon, Florida, the case that I did towards the end of last year. I did, of course, the McDaniel sisters, Chip Campbell, Linda K. Carroll, on and on and on. Hope I'm not forgetting anybody. I probably am, but there's several that I've done. So, Derek, I've done several, and I just feel fortunate that I can name them off the top of my head. Um, so, no, this will be the next one, and it's one I've been looking forward to do. It's out of Vero Beach, which is over on the Atlantic side of Florida. Everybody has the volumes up. Well, let's see what I can do here. Just turning. If you hear an echo, it's because I'm going to turn this up a little bit. Let me see if I can turn this up. This is just the way we have it set up. Because once again, this Wirecast thing, I don't like it, but to be able to live stream on YouTube, that's the way it goes. Is that any better? I turned it up. Shuri, how do you think I sound? Being that Shuri, you're in here. Plug the Bluetooth in. It's fine on my end now. See? There you go. I don't know what it is. Once again, I'm afraid to turn it up sometimes because... All right, Shri is the producer of the program. If she says that sounds good, then that's all I can do. I'm working on volume 6, and it's going well. Still waiting for the foreword to it. I'm not going to give away who is writing it, but he's working on it right now. I hope to have it from him soon. And let's go to the poll for this week, and that is the poll for Jeff Frame. Was it pre-planned, the disappearance of Barbara Frame? A large majority of you have said that it was pre-planned, which is interesting because in the blog that I wrote for Patreon last week, I've come to the conclusion that it wasn't pre-planned. So I guess I disagree with a large majority of you, and we're allowed to do that. I can understand why people think it's pre-planned. It's just the way I look at it and the way I explained it in the blog that I believe that was most likely, as I believe in a lot of cases, an argument that has gone wrong. Okay, Miranda. Yeah, you got to turn on the Bluetooth speaker sometimes. It's just the way it is. The Doe Patrol. Chip Campbell said case. I believe he's in the woods he walked up into, according to his family. The dog Harley leaving him behind makes no sense. I don't know anything about him walking into any woods. That did not come out in the interview that I did. The last thing that anybody saw him was at a Circle K. And being that I am become very good friends with this sister Lisa, who was the guest for the episode, I see her once every few months, and we of course talk about Chip's case. I don't know about him walking up into any woods, so I don't. She didn't, and I'm reading the interview right now, and she didn't say anything about that. Maybe I don't know. I don't know what to tell you about that, Doe Patrol. So we have the poll. A majority of you thought that Jeff came over there with the plan to, I guess, murder Barbara that day. And this is an interesting question that somebody asked me in the think tank. What is my definition of pre-planned? My definition, and I'm going to guess that it varies from person to person, host to host, maybe law enforcement official to law enforcement official, but for me, pre-planned is all about what's in the mind. It doesn't mean that the person has gone out and got a shovel and got some duct tape and got some lye or got cement blocks or cement or anything else. For me, pre-planned means that whoever is the main suspect, the killer, went to that person that he or she was going to make disappear and kill and that was in their head. Okay, so to put it in the context of Barbara Frame's disappearance, I would say that if it was pre-planned, Jeff Frame knocked on Barbara's door with the intent of killing her that evening. Okay, that doesn't mean he did anything else. All it means is he had the intent to kill her that evening. Whereas the not being pre-planned would be he went over there because he just wanted to see her, wanted to stalk her, wanted to talk to her, wanted to convince her to come back to him. Then somewhat time after the two left, they get into an argument and something happens. That's the difference for me. Okay, that's the difference. His sister said he went into the woods. I don't know why she told me on Facebook. I don't know what to tell you that, Doe Patrol. That I don't know what to tell you about that. Because if there's been never any talk of any, maybe he walked into the woods some other time, but the one of the main facts about that case is the last time he was seen on video at a Circle K, and it was there that a couple backpacks that he was carrying were found, I think, in the trash behind or just behind. I don't know if they were in the trash or they were just behind the store. That's what we covered in the interview. If there's been anything new regarding that, that's news to me. And Lisa, who is the sister I know best, I know he has other sisters, and I know that there was somebody else in the family who did an interview with Marissa at The Vanished, but the sister that I know the best, Lisa, who was on Unfound, that's what we've talked about. So I don't know. Conscious says, I think it was pre-planned as he was rushing her. I'm not sure what rushing means, Concha, but okay. Hey, Carrie, what's going on? There's Carrie, administrator for the Unfound podcast discussion group. So I just wanted to explain that because about pre-planned, because sometimes I just take for granted that you know what I mean, and I shouldn't do that. That's wrong of me to do. So why don't you use a term like that? And I'm glad whoever it was asked me that in the think tank on Sunday night. So I thought, man, I should probably explain that during the live show on YouTube as well. So anytime from now on, when you hear me use the term pre-planned as far as what I think pre-planned, that's what it means. Let's answer a question. Once again, if there are any questions that you would like me to answer tonight, please do, because I only have a couple of them. But this one comes from the discussion group, and it's from Jasmine. Jasmine, are you in here? It says, how often are missing people in bodies of water, or how often do you think that missing people are put in bodies of water? I would say let's put it this way. Once again, I don't know if there's any statistics to back this up. I don't know. But I would say that trash in the restroom, right, Doe Patrol? Yes. Regarding Chip Campbell, yes. Oh, there's Jasmine. There you go. My impression is this, and in fact, I've actually talked, not recently, but maybe sometime last year, with the woman who is what he's called my law enforcement confidant that I've known since 2017. We talk about a lot of these cases and things. We talked about this at one time, and she, of course, is a real police officer, a deputy in Texas. Her impression is that missing people, if it is a murder, they're either buried. The most likely ways they are disposed of is being buried or being thrown in like a trash bin. So maybe one of those big bins you always see like behind a strip mall, something like that. They're covered up. Of course, the truck comes, dumps everything into the truck, and then gets taken to the landfill. They're either buried by their killer or the killer dumps him or her in a bin. After that, I think that bodies of water are number three, but I think it's a distant number three. I think it's a distant number three. Um, because there's a lot that goes into. Now, of course, we had a recent case regarding Angie Arnell, who her husband claimed that that's where she ended up, and of course, we don't know if he's telling the truth. He went to jail for a little bit, but her body never found. He claims that he lost her um, in the water, but we don't know if that's true or not because people went out there and looked for her and couldn't find her. Putting a body in a body of water, weird how that came out, is a lot of work. You're gonna have a boat, or maybe like I guess like what was the Atlanta child killer? What's his name? Williams. I forget his first name. Warren Williams or whatever it was. Um, I know that he tried to dispose of some of his victims by dumping them over a bridge, but he didn't weight them down, and that's how some of those bodies were found. But if you're really trying to take a body out into the water, weigh it down, and like they did to Big Pussy in The Sopranos, that takes some work. And you got to get it right the first time. And most people do not have a lot of experience out on the water. We all live on land, so we're used to digging holes and things, and we're familiar with garbage being collected. So Jasmine, I'm thinking that there there are missing people who are in bodies of water. To speak for my country, the United States, I'm thinking it's much less than ones that are buried, thrown in the trash. Uh, I don't know. That's my interpretation of it. I think once again, I think just taking a body out into the water, you need a boat. Then, if you don't have a boat, then you're gonna have to ask for a boat, or you have to go to rent a boat, or you're gonna have to get a canoe, which then you put the body. It sounds like a lot of work to me. Whereas I think people just think, you know what, I'm gonna drive out into this back road, walk off 100 yards off of this dirt road, get a shovel out, and start digging. Or at 3 in the morning, go to some garbage bin and do that. So I don't know. I'm going to say 5% Jasmine. I would say it's even probably less than that. And then after that, then we start getting into the other things like some of my guests hear about. Well, we heard that she was eaten by wild boars or wild pigs. I get that a lot. Wild hogs. I get that story a lot as a rumor in many cases that we cover behind the scenes. They've heard that the body was chopped up or put through a wood chipper. Of course, that reminds everybody of the movie Fargo. Those things I think are very, 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 very rare. Okay, so it goes being buried, thrown into the trash, and then a distant third would be a body of water, and then way after that would be being chopped up and cut up or eaten, something like that. That's my impression. Yeah, Yarnell didn't dump Angie in that lake. Carrie, I'm inclined to believe that as well, but that's what he said. That's what he said. Oakley, what's going on? Um, yeah, yes. Uh, Wayne Williams, thank you, Pamela. Thank you for. I couldn't think of. I knew it was WW, but I was thinking Willie Williams, Warren Williams. Okay, Wayne Williams. Thank you, Pamela. Um, the Doe Patrol. The missing and unidentified, I like to call it our national tragedy. It's so insane. The trash bin is just awful. My friend's sister could have never been found. Rebecca Ann Christ was her name. Mm-hmm. Yeah, I think that happens a lot. I'm inclined to believe that happens a lot in the disappearance that involve drugs with young women. I'm thinking the trash bin because a lot of these people tend to be up late at night. They never sleep because they're on drugs, and so that's easy to do in contrast to getting rid of a body in the middle of the day. So, Shanna, what's going on? You're welcome, Jasmine. Fargo is a spectacular movie, Derek. One of my favorite. You should absolutely see it. It is directed by the Coen brothers. All right, let's move up to some more stuff. It's less than a week, and I will be going to the courthouse to see if I'm going to get picked for the jury. That is going to happen on Monday morning. We'll see what kind of shape I'm in after a week of disc golf. I'm going to have to get up a lot earlier than I usually do. I'm usually a night owl. I usually don't go to bed till like 12:30, 1:30 in the morning, and then I don't get up until 9 or 9:30 if you've ever wondered. So there's that. So we'll see. But I haven't decided what shirt I'm going to wear. I've been trying to taking a poll to see what shirt I should wear on Monday morning, and I've maybe I should post that as a poll in the discussion group for everyone. In fact, I will do that after the show is over. But that's going to be on Monday morning. We'll see if I get picked. Um, we'll see. I think it's a personal injury case. It's not a murder case or something. I think, given the questionnaire that I had to fill out, the questions had to do with personal injury. Have I ever filed a claim? Has a claim ever been filed by me? So I think, and it comes from the civil division, not the criminal division. So it's going to be it sounds like it's a civil case, and we'll see if I get picked. On the questionnaire that I had to fill out, it does ask you your occupation, and I filled out missing persons investigator and reporter. I don't know if that's going to help me or hurt me. My guess it's going to probably hurt my chances, but I'm just being honest. So there you go. Moran, so that's coming up very quickly, and depending on if I get picked or not, that will obviously factor into, if it's some long, drawn out thing and I do get picked, then that's definitely going to get in the way of getting some episodes done and doing interviews and etc. But I will keep you all posted on that. In fact, I'm sure I will be talking about it later on Monday and how everything went. Miranda, what is your opinion on the men who go missing in Boston, Massachusetts, who are often found in water, usually the Charles River? Do you think coincidence or something else? Miranda, I know this isn't the popular thing. I know the smiley face killer is some theory that a lot of people buy into. My opinion is that it doesn't surprise me that drunk people can't swim. As somebody recently, we were talking, I forget where we weren't talking about it on here, but somewhere else, somebody put forward the idea that the reason so many of these young men end up in the water is because they maybe go down the water to go to the bathroom because they have been drinking too much and they can't make it to a bathroom and they're drunk and everything, and they fall into the water. That makes more sense to me than there's some conspiracy out there of this group of people who have never been caught going driving all over the United States and catching young men and throwing them in the water. All right, that just is not something that I could ever buy into, ever. There's no proof of that. Where there is a lot of proof that drunk people can't swim, and drunk people, both men and women, stumble around, and drunk people do walk out in front of cars and they fall down steps and everything else. And we also have to remember that the percentage of drunk people who have been found in water deceased is such a small percentage of all drunk people there are at one time. So that's my opinion on it. I just think that young people get sloppy drunk and they don't know what they're doing, and before they know it, they fall into some water. That does not surprise me at all. I don't know why so many people find it mysterious. I'm being serious, and I'm not a drinker. I've never been a drinker. I've never been drunk, never had a buzz. But maybe that means I've gotten to observe people at parties a little bit more than people who go and do get drunk to see them. I've seen a lot of drunks stumbling around in my life. I'm 48 years old. That's what I think on that. So sad the families even have to consider those ways of disposing of the body. Steeler fan, I agree with you, but it's just something you have to do. That's just it sucks, but if you're gonna try to solve the case, you have to think about it. Carrie, thank you. Thank you for the jury stuff. All that jury duty stuff. Thank you, Carrie. Wear Iron Maiden, Grateful Dead. It might be an Iron Maiden shirt. The four choices, if anybody is interested, are Iron Maiden, their Killers shirt. I have like, if you don't know, I have like 10 different Iron Maiden shirts. But the Iron Maiden Killer shirt, Kiss Love Gun, Def Leppard Pyromania, and Megadeth Peace Sells, But Who's Buying? Now, the significance of the Megadeth shirt is there is a line in that song that says, what do you mean I don't support your system? I go to court when I have to. That's a line in the song. So I think that that would be pretty cool to wear that shirt to court. So those are the four choices, and I really haven't decided yet. You have to wear the maiden shirt. Okay. Okay, thank you, Oakley, for agreeing with me. I love people who agree with me. Miranda, thank you. That makes sense. There's a lot of conspiracy theories about it. Yep, Miranda, and you know how you've been around long enough in the think tank and elsewhere to know that I just don't buy into conspiracy theories. But how about that man on the Titanic who was the cook? It was drunk, who did not freeze to death or drowned. A little bit. I just don't. I just don't know. I'm sure there's going to be an exception to every rule, and it doesn't mean that every drunk who falls into the water drowns or anything. But we know that drunks can barely walk, and swimming is a lot more difficult. So, but there are some people who just naturally float. I'm not one of those. You put me in the water, I can swim, but I better swim. If I stop swimming and don't tread water, I go right to the bottom. Other people, their body weight is different, and so they float better. So you just don't know. Peace sells, Oakley. Peace sells, but who's buying is uh, so good. Oakley, you're right. Pamela, no, suit and tie is not going to work. Why not wear an Unfound shirt? You know, Cherie, I've thought about that, and I'm not going to do that because that seems like a little gratuitous advertising to me, and I'm not going to do that. I've thought about it. In fact, Joyce Rivatuza, who I know is watching tonight, suggested that, and I'm just not. I'm just not going to do that. That seems like here I am. Look at me. People asking me. Oh, I host the show, and I want people to know about the program, but I don't want it to be so obvious that I wore the shirt so I could advertise. That seems so I could advertise the program. Okay, that seems a little gratuitous to me, especially considering the venue and everything else. It just is. So I don't mind talking to people. If I meet people on the disc golf course, I tell them what I do and everything. But wearing a shirt and being so blatant about it just seems a little over the top. It just does. Whereas um, wearing a heavy metal shirt or something like that is is I think that just different. Well, I know that's the idea to advertise in Cherie, but um, it's just I wear Unfound shirts to Starbucks. I wear them other places where I've gone out, but wearing them to court um, just feels like a little bit over the top. And look at me and look what I do, and that's just not just there's just something that feels wrong about it. I feel the same way. This comes up like when everything with the books and the shirts and everything else. It's like selling Unfound stuff without having a missing person's information on it. I don't do that either. Same kind of thing. I know about Brittany Drexel. In fact, my assistant Emily and I were just talking about that recently, Derek. We were. I don't know if we'll ever cover the case, though. Oakley, I'm an old metalhead, Ed. You and I are from the same era, same age. Yes. And the funny thing is, Oakley, is that I was not into Iron Maiden or Megadeth and some of these like Anthrax at all when I was that age. I mean, I was a total, hair band guy, really. And I still am. I still like Rat and White Snake and, all these other groups. But since I turned over 40, it's actually like my musical tastes have gotten harder. Like at the time, back in the late 80s, I was one of those people. I barely listened to Guns N' Roses. That's the truth. Now I play them. I don't know. Blaze dress shirt and slacks and business cards more suitable. I'm not wearing any suits. I equate wearing suits as going to funerals and things. So I'm not going to do that either. So, all right. I don't think I'm going to make anybody happy with this. So I'm just going to have to do my own thing and everybody's just going to have to live with it. Portsmouth, Ohio. There is, Karen just happened to listen to an update. Yeah, there is a little bit. Wanted to know about an update. I'll tell you about an update. It has to do with Portsmouth, Ohio, and a recent article that was on Cincinnati.com, and it has to do with one of the men that was mentioned during the Megan Lancaster episode. And his name, it was not Mike Moran, it's Fred Brisker, who is a friend of Mike's, who is allegedly, they're both allegedly in the sex trafficking ring. Right now, the state investigators, the insurance investigators in Ohio, are thinking about pulling this guy's insurance license. That's an article that just came out within the last few days. In fact, somebody posted it, and then I shared it in the group. However, I don't think it's clear that this is happening because of these rumors that he's involved in a sex trafficking ring. The way the article is written, it's because he impersonated a client over the phone, and then he ended up forging a document, which of course is a big no-no in any sort of business. Forging, of course, period, is bad. And it's because of these things that the insurance commission in Ohio, which is a state department, is thinking about pulling his insurance license. And the article goes into his background, how he was a football star, he was a football coach, and all of these things. But it also does talk about the rumors that he's involved in the sex trafficking. Mike Moran's name is in the article. So I posted it in the group. So I hope if you are in the group, you'll check it out if you didn't see it. Godsmack rules, Mark says. Not into Godsmack, Mark. I've seen them all in concert many times. I'm going to see Iron Maiden again, Oakley, in July down in Sunrise, Florida. Kathy, welcome to the show tonight. Been listening for a while. Thank you very much. Love the show. Great. Great to always have a new viewer, Kathy. Thank you. So Fred Brisker looks like maybe he's going to be losing his business license and his ability to sell insurance in Ohio. The issue that continues to stand out for me in all of this is, I know what people are going to say. Well, then the police must be corrupt and everything else. Well, it sounds to me, if this is true, that Mike Moran and Fred Brisker and all the other people who have mentioned in that affidavit that we talked about during the Megan Lancaster episode, it doesn't seem to me like any of them were doing anything to try to cover any of it up, to keep it on the down low, secret. It seems like if it was happening, that it was an open secret. And the problem I have is that if this has been going on for 20 years, are you telling me there hasn't been one stand up police officer, mayor, council person, good Samaritan who's been able to do anything about this? Really? I mean, if this was like a big city, if this was Cleveland, if this was Cincinnati, if it was LA, New York, Tampa, wherever, then I can understand, given everything that goes on in those cities, that this would kind of stay on the down low. Portsmouth, Ohio is not very big. And everybody seems to know everybody. And everybody seems to know Mike Moran. And are we to believe that I know there have to be some good people in Portsmouth, Ohio, that they've just let this go? This is my problem with this. I'm not saying it's not true, but as much as I loved Katie having being on the program, she was a great guest. I still talk to her, etc. I don't know if that aspect of all of this has been adequately explained to me. And I don't want to hear, well, they're afraid. I don't want to hear it. I just don't want to hear it. I can understand being afraid at one point in time, but not over the course of 20 years. You know, I just, there's just something about that that if this is all true, and Mike Moran is exactly how, he is a sex trafficker, and Fred Brisker and all these other people, not only do I want them thrown in jail, and of course Megan Lancaster's disappearance solved, and any other disappearance murder that could have anything to do with this, I want to hear from those people who are good people there that they all heard about this and why they didn't do anything. That's very interesting to me because it's still something, like I said, that has not been adequately explained to me. You almost get the feeling is like, oh yeah, I'm friends with Mike Moran and I know he's a sex trafficker and I don't care. And that's just a little too much for me to imagine. I can say some people, but not all people. But it must be all people because Mike Moran's never spent a day in jail. And I don't want to hear it that people are covering up for him because it doesn't sound like he was covering anything up. I think if somebody would have followed him for a week, not now because he knows the attention's on him, but when he was doing this more frequently, all somebody had to do was probably follow him for a week and they would have been able to solve the entire thing. Hard to understand. Just hard to understand. Um, and I don't want to hear about fear. My impression is about, well, people are afraid. They'll say they're afraid. You know what? My opinion on why they do that, that's to rationalize their inaction. Okay? When they can't just say, you know what, it's none of my business because that doesn't fly. They can't say that I didn't believe it because there's just so many facts that show that it's probably true. They can't say that they don't care because that makes them look bad. So they default to, you know what, I was just afraid. I'm just not interested in talking to people like that. I got no time for them. With Bruce Dickinson, yes, Oakley. I know that they had that singer in the mid '90s, and I know early on they had the other guy, but Iron Maiden is with Bruce Dickinson. Period. Okay, that is Iron Maiden. Without Bruce Dickinson, I know that Steve Harris started the group and he's the main guy and everything, but without Bruce Dickinson as lead singer Iron Maiden, it's not really Iron Maiden to me. Oakley says it's time for everybody to come clean. I agree. Even the people who are not involved, Oakley, in Portsmouth, Ohio, I agree. Uh, Oakley says, I worked in commercial insurance for over 15 years and still have a PC license. So, anyway, if you've not seen that article, please go to the group and read it. And it's really a companion piece to the other article that was written back in March before we covered Megan Lancaster's disappearance, which was a longer article that really had to do with Mike Moran and all the allegations against him and what some of these women who were prostituted by him, allegedly, have to say about him. So that I guess you say the articles go together, but the first one of March is much longer and much more descriptive. Audio. Let's talk about this for a second. And I know we have, some people saying this could be louder tonight. As I instructed Carrie, okay, this is Carrie and I had because she is the other administrator in the group. There's actually another administrator, Jeremiah, who started the group, but he takes part in the group, but He has a lot of things going on in his life. Uh, but from now on, um, any complaints about audio in the group are going to get deleted. Now, here's why. It's not because I can't take criticism, okay? I don't want anybody to think that. I take criticism about how I interview people and everything else, but there are only so many ways for me to say that the audio issues that are being explained to me that I'm reading about have nothing to do with the way I prepare the program. Okay, and that's why I filmed both of those videos and posted them in the group and on the Facebook page on Friday evening. I showed you how I played the raw audio off of my computer, off of GarageBand in the program. Spotify, Podomatic, all sounds the same. If the program does not sound like that when you listen to it, it has something to do with your setup. It may be a poor internet connection. It could be using earbuds, which are horrible, that do not have enough of a dynamic range. All right? Shouldn't be using those things anyway. They're going to kill your ears. You could be using an app that is not working right. It could be that your internet use on your phone is getting throttled because you've used too much bandwidth over the course of a month. I have unlimited bandwidth on my phone, but that's also the reason I pay $150 a month. But if you're only paying $50 a month and you're using a lot of internet, at some point you're going to get throttled, and they're not going to allow you to use as much bandwidth until the next billing cycle. So just some of these things that I'm hearing are totally out of my control. My problem is that when people have issues, they automatically think I'm to blame, and they don't. And so Carrie's saying, okay, Carrie and I had this conversation. Now, Carrie was doing a little research for me, and I want to read this. Carrie says, I haven't got a chance to get back to you yet, but my roommate played it on an Apple knockoff app, and there were minor issues. Turn around and played it on Spotify, and it was perfect. Exactly. This is why I continue to say, I personally support accounts on Podomatic, Spotify, iTunes, and Stitcher. If you are listening on anything else, you're taking the podcast into your own hands, and any problems that you have, you're going to have to work them out. Okay, I'm sorry. I'm a very accommodating guy. I love talking to listeners, but after a while, it just gets a little old. All right. I guess the way I feel is I think when people complain about the audio, they actually think that I mixed the program the wrong way, which is a little bit of an insult because I take great pains to do these interviews and everything the right way. I put a lot of time into this to make it right. I realize some interviews sound better than others. That has to do with cell phone issues for my guests. But I still think that everybody can mainly hear them. But I'm a little insulted when people approach me and they think that I did something wrong when I know that I didn't and I'm able to prove it. And they still think that I'm to blame. I start feeling like people are trolling me. So that's why from now on, if you have complaints about audio and you post it in the group, it's getting deleted. You contact me privately. We can talk about it for as long as it takes to fix it. But I'm not going to allow any more posting about audio issues in the group. Because once again, I think that is a little bit of trolling going on out there regarding all of this. Karen says, I absolutely felt so compassionate for Joyce's story about her twins. You did an amazing interview with her. Thank you, Karen. Joyce, of course, I talk to Joyce about once a month, and I know she is in the group tonight. That is interesting, Carrie, about the Apple knockoff app. That does not surprise me at all, and that's what I told one of the people privately within the last few days who I got to talk to about the audio issue they were having, and I tried to explain it to them. Roommate's use, not mine. Roommate's words, not mine. Okay. Roommate will do it again this Friday for me just to see how it sounds with a different guest. Great. Excellent. Yes, any issues, please I will be happy to try and help you. I have zero issues on iTunes. I have zero issues on Podomatic. Same here, Cherie. If you pick the apps, once again, Podomatic, Spotify, and I don't even think you need to be a Spotify paying member to listen. Of course, iTunes and Stitcher. Okay, those are the four places that get their file directly from me, really through Podomatic. Everywhere else, it's second hand, third hand, fourth hand, fifth hand. And I'm not getting into the technicalities of it. But that's why I always say Unfound supports those places and nothing else. Okay? And I realize there are some other great apps out there that, like my friend Sinead in Ireland, who's been with Unfound since the beginning, she listens on some app I've never heard of that's in Ireland. She always has great audio. Always. And she tells me about it. So if she can get great audio in Ireland on some app I've never heard of, then the, then other people need to start looking at how they're listening to the program. Used to use Spotify without issues until they cut the episode short, switched to iTunes, and again, zero issues. Yeah, I think we've, as far as Spotify and a couple of those episodes being cut short, that was some technical problems between Podomatic and Spotify. The quality of the episodes were fine. It's just somewhere in the data transfer, they had an internet issue and it just got cut off. That's what happened. I think those episodes are fixed now, Cherie. I think. Carrie says, not just the leap post, but we will tag the poster in the pinned announcement about how to fix issues. Yes, right, Carrie. Thank you. LaFord girl, gonna catch up later. You are moving. Okay. Thank you for checking in, LaFord. Love it. Thank you for checking in. Roommate's going to try a few different apps. Thank your roommate for me, Carrie. Deeply appreciated. And how the person being interviewed is holding the phone. Well, Susan, that is something that I usually work out on my end when I'm interviewing the person. Now, I'm going to admit right now, this Friday with Dori Ann Myers' sister, she was a little softer than Kathy Huber from last Friday, so I've had to pump her volume up. Okay? And it may be that you need to turn your volume up a little bit. But I heard her just fine over the phone. I did not miss a word that she said during the entire interview. And really, what you get to hear during an interview is louder than what I get to hear when I listen on the phone, because I bump my guest volume up. So I'm just going to warn you right now that you may need to turn your volume up a little bit for Friday, a little more than last Friday, but the audio is clear and you can understand every word. In fact, I was listening to the interview today. I was playing it on my Mac laptop, which is right here off the speaker. I was at the complete other end of my new place, which is larger than my old place, and I could hear it just fine. To me, that should be plenty for anybody. Yes, you can listen on free on Podomatic and Spotify for free. Yes, Podomatic for free. Okay. I can't use Podomatic with my phone. There is a Podomatic app a little bit. I don't know what kind of phone you have, but Podomatic does have an application that you can download. And I have it on my phone, and that's one of the ways I check to see what the audio sounds like, and it sounds great. So, your comments are just fine, Carrie. One more thing, and then we're going to talk about Friday's case. This woman who got lost in Hawaii and survived 17 days in the wild. She said that she slept in boar dens, which are like wild pig dens, I guess. And she had some real injuries. We saw the pictures and everything. But I do know that there are some people out there who are questioning that she got that, what really happened. Those injuries look real to me. But I will admit that there is a part of me that wonders if maybe she was having some issues and she was thinking about walking off out in the middle of nowhere and just getting lost on purpose, and then she had regrets about it. That has occurred to me. the ultimate result is she's a found, she's fine, she's going to recover from her injuries, and that's spectacular. But I can't help but think that she might have some underlying personal issues that maybe caused her to get lost in the first place. And if that's the case, I hope she gets those things handled, because if she doesn't, then this will happen again, and maybe next time she won't be found. Okay? So 17 days, that's a long time. I cannot imagine being out in the wild for 17 days. Can't imagine it. The Dope Patrol, I don't have volume issues with you ever, and I have a MacBook Pro, nor at the work at PC with earbuds plugged into a speaker. See? There you go. And that's my experience too, Dope Patrol. So, like I said, there's no way that I would ever release an episode with bad audio to the point where people are saying, I can't hear, I can hear you, and you're real loud, and I can't. There's no way I would ever do that. Okay? Ever. So the issue has to be the way some people are listening. All right. Um, I've tried it, will not download on mine a little bit. Um, use iTunes. Yeah, please, Cherie, see if you can help a little bit there and make things better for her, because, maybe we need to know what kind of phone you have. Is it an Android phone? Is it a iPhone? Maybe we need to know a little bit more about that a little bit. And Cherie, if you could help her with that, I'd appreciate it. I've never seen a wild boar. They come up so often, not even the deep jungles of Mexico. Yeah. It seems to me if you're sleeping where a wild animal usually sleeps, that's a good way to get killed. This is what she said she did, and she survived. But I'm no outdoorsman, so what do I know? But that was I think, a feel-good story. The unfortunate part is that there is now a guy who went missing, I guess, in kind of the same area in Hawaii. So we'll see if he gets found. One more question, and this kind of goes back to me playing disc golf this weekend. Jeremiah, who is also an administrator in the group, asked me, what are my disc golf goals for 2019? My disc golf goal for 2019 is getting over performance anxiety. I go out and play well when I practice, but then when a tournament comes along, I kind of get a little nervous and I want to do well because I'm very competitive. And then the disc starts flying all over the place. And my goal for the rest of this year is to get over that and to get rid of the yips. And if you don't know what the yips are, you can look them up. Because I have them right now, and we'll see if I'll be able to control that this weekend. I'm going to try to be very laid back and everything. We'll see, but that's the goal. There's no goals regarding scores or winning or anything else. The goal is to be more relaxed out there in the course. There you go, Jeremiah. This Friday's case. It's the new S10 Plus. I don't even know what that is a little bit, but I think that we can help you out. If it's a really new, good phone, then we should be able to help you out some way. This Friday, the disappearance of Dori Ann Myers. The title of this episode is called Unfriendly Fires, in contrast to friendly fire, which of course happens like in war situations. We're calling this Unfriendly Fires, and I'll tell you why in a second. She disappeared from Vero Beach, Florida on January 10th, 2006. The guest for this episode is her sister, Donna Jean Cap, and Donna Jean is in the group. And Dori's case is one that I've wanted to cover since Unfound started. I've known about her disappearance for a long time, even before I moved to Florida. And the reason I think that it caught my eye when I was just a listener or a reader, a consumer of true crime and missing persons case and everything, like all of you are, is because of the unique circumstances in that she disappeared, the interior of her house was burned, her car was seemingly stolen, and then it was found burned like 80 miles away. And I've known about this disappearance, I'm going to say, for 10 years. And so I've always sat down, looked at it, tried to figure out what actually went on here. And it was so great to finally have her sister Donna Jean on. And what happened, just to give you the generalities of the case, is she went out and she went to a few different bars. And then at 10 that night, a guy she used to date called her. And she was at home already. And she said that she had met two, she was big into supporting veterans. Of course, we just had Memorial Day. She was big into supporting veterans, and she had met a couple at a bar, two veterans, male military vets. She invited them back to her house, and the ex boyfriend could hear the guys in the background. It seemed like they were having a good time. It was like 10 in the evening. But a few hours later, neighbors ended up hearing arguing at her house. And then at 3 in the morning, they heard a commotion outside. They looked out. They saw Dori's car pulling out of their driveway and taking off. And then a few minutes later, they noticed fire inside the house. Of course, the fire department was called, and the interior of the house was gutted. The house still stands, but they got the fire put out. Later that day, so on January 11th, her car was found at a boat ramp 80 miles away, and it was still on fire when the fire department, somebody called it in, we don't know who, and they got there, and the car was still on fire when the fire department got there. Dori's dog and cat were killed at the house. It looks like somebody actually locked them in a room so they couldn't escape. And these two military members, although there are sketches of them, because seemingly a bartender or somebody saw her with these guys one of these places she was at earlier that evening. These sketches are out there. They've never been identified. These men have never come forward. So it brings together a lot of different elements of missing persons cases. Of course, fire, car being left dished somewhere, sketches, and whether those sketches are real or not. Are they accurate or not? Of course, we have an ex-boyfriend who's managed to work his way into the story because he called her. He's the one who says, yes, she told me she was with these two guys. And there were things in the house after the fire department put out the fire that do look like she was preparing, like a couch had been pulled out. It looked like somebody was going to be sleeping on it. So there are things to back up the ex-boyfriend story, but of course people are still suspicious of him. So it's always it's a case that has caught my attention for a long time, and to be able to bring it to you, I'm really thrilled to do that. Donna Jean did a great job. The episode's, I think, about 2 hours long, and once again, the write-up that I'm going to do for this episode will be free, and it's going to be long, so prepare yourself. What would usually, this of course is a blog that would usually only be for Patreon members. This Friday, it's going to be for everybody. Everybody who listens, anybody who downloads it is going to be able to access what I write about it. Thank you, Derek, for the good wishes this weekend. Thank you. Um, yeah, Sheree, a little bit. Yes, you can message Sheree or Carrie, and they'll be happy to help you out a little bit. Yes. To relax, you need a theme song. Sing it in your head like mine is the theme from Greatest American Hero. When you get nervous, I actually, believe it or not, I'm walking on air. How do I know that theme off the top of my head? Um, Then, well, no yips. Thanks, Karen. 1,322 missing persons cases in Florida as of today. I know it, Doe Patrol, and we're trying to take care of them one at a time. Got to work on my breathing to relax. I agree with you, Oakley. I agree. Breathing work, yes. Carrie says those fires pics look a little odd to me, like furniture is broken, a lot of smoke damage, but that's it. Yes, Carrie, you're right. And if everybody doesn't know, I've been posting pictures of the interior of Dori's house after it was burned in the group on the page, and on Instagram. So you can find it in one of those places. And Carrie, yes, the burning does look somewhat strategic. And we believe that it was done with gasoline, but it did not collapse the house. And there were many things in the house that weren't touched at all. So the burning was very strategic. Was the fire in the car put on intentionally? Derek, absolutely yes. Yes. Um, so this is once again, this is a case I've known about for a long time, and you should know if you're not familiar with what I do at the blog. As you know, on the episodes, we don't do hardly any theorizing at all. We cover the facts, we try to interpret them, but we don't get crazy into pointing finger. We don't point fingers, and we don't go off on all these tangents and theory tangents, and I don't do it in the summation. But you should know in the blog, I do that. Okay, but that's never going to be part of any episode that Unfound will ever do. Okay, so what you will be reading is another aspect of what we do here at Unfound. Homework, create an Instagram account since I'm not on Facebook. Yes, you should get on Instagram and follow it somewhere, Doe Patrol. Yes. Hey, there's Emily tonight. Emily! Great to see you tonight, Emily. I didn't know you were in here. I know that sometimes you have to work and everything, but great seeing Emily. If any of you are new to the program or just watching for the first time, you're seeing Emily K right there. She is the assistant that I talk about. That's Emily. And she's the one that finds a lot of the guests who are eventually interviewed for the program. So everybody say hi to Emily. And I didn't even know she was in here tonight. So there she is. But a lot of things going on with Dori Ann Myers' case, and you're going to see how I write about it, how I reason things out um, this Friday and Friday, Saturday, whenever you are able to read the blog that I'll be writing. So that's about it, man. This hour and 8 minutes, even it's over an hour. It started like 5 till 9, I guess. So an hour and 13 minutes has certainly flown. So let's see what I'm glad you were able to make it tonight, Emily. Thanks for making time. So what did we do tonight? I talked a little bit about the disc golf tournament that I'm going to be in this weekend. Talked about working on volume 6. I'm working on the interview, the transcription for Chip Campbell right now. The poll, a large majority of you thought that Jeff Frame, whatever he did to Barbara Frame was premeditated. And we talked about Portsmouth, Ohio, new article that you will find on the page and in the group about Fred Brisker and how he's might lose his insurance license. He's one of the guys that's thought to be in the sex trafficking ring. We talked about how I'm going on Monday morning to the courthouse because I've been called for jury duty. I haven't been picked yet, but I have to go in there and they'll do whatever. Talked about audio for the program because there were some complaints and how we will be handling that from now on. Talked about the Patreon blog that for this Friday is going to be free. We talked about the girl got lost in Hawaii for 17 days. Took some questions from Jasmine about missing people in bodies of water. I talked about my disc golf goals. Took some questions from you. And then finally, I previewed the disappearance of Dori Ann Myers. She disappeared from Vero Beach, Florida, January 10th, 2006, an episode I'm calling Unfriendly Fires. And the interview is her sister, Donna Jean Cap. So that's all I got for everybody. Yeah, everybody's in the whole gang's here tonight. Carrie, Cherie, and Emily. And yeah, it's great to have you all here tonight. It feels so nice and cozy. But we got to go. We got to go now. So all of you want to keep talking. I think the discussion group here will continue to remain open, but I have some things to do, and I'm actually not doing an interview, but an initial conversation with a potential guest at 11 o'clock tonight. I stay up. Of course, I usually don't go to bed till 1 or something anyway, but this is what goes on behind the scenes at Unfound. Staying up to, having phone conversations at unusual hours. So that I'm going to go. Thank you all for tuning in tonight. It means so much to me. Love talking to all of you. And you will hear me on Friday. And once again, do not forget the blog. I'm going to keep reminding you it's free, so you don't want to miss it. And good night, everyone. See ya.